Hey guys, Dan here with Pain For You. Today I'm going to do a little bit of Q&A. A few days back I asked you guys for video topic suggestions or questions. And what I'm going to do is, since I've got over 40 different questions or video topics, I'm going to try to group a bunch of them into this one video and try to tackle some of the quicker ones. Some of the other topics are full-blown videos by themselves. So I thank everybody. I've got some notes here. I printed off all the topic suggestions. So one of the folks asked, what's the difference between human pain and TMS pain? And I think it's more human pain versus chronic pain. TMS pain can happen out of the blue, but if we don't stress about it, it can pass reasonably quick, especially if we know what we're doing with this whole mind-body process and can actually check in emotionally and deal with it. That's how I deal with it. So I still get human pain, meaning I will still get symptoms periodically, a little twinge in the back, a headache. I've gotten over the years some reflux, not a lot, not chronically, but because I recognize it as too much stress, I quickly check in emotionally and deal with it. So I think the difference is human pain, which is unavoidable. Sometimes you hurt yourself physically, smack your hand with a hammer, that's human pain. But also we may have emotional pain. If we resist it, we may come up with some TMS type of pain. And again, whether or not that becomes chronic depends on how we react to that human pain. So get to know yourself emotionally, learn to feel your emotions on a regular basis. And any of these little human pains that come and go should not become chronic, especially if you don't freak out about them and obsess on them. So hopefully that answered that question. Somebody else was asking, which of the TMS books do you recommend as, I guess for beginners? So it depends. If somebody's got back pain, Dr. Sarno's Healing Back Pain is great. Steve Ozanich also has a book on healing back pain, specifically on back pain. That one is great as well. But if somebody has symptoms other than back pain, then Dr. Sarno's The Mind-Body Prescription is excellent because he does talk about a lot of other things as well. Another question. Somebody asked whether or not they can go through this healing journey on their own, or is a course or TMS therapist a must-have? My answer is you can absolutely do it alone. There's countless people who have gotten better by reading books, and not by just reading them, by implementing and taking action and getting their mindset right and feeling their emotions, right? So a TMS therapist or a course is not a must-have. Is it nice to have? Sure. But, you don't necessarily have to do that. While I did purchase a course late in my process from Adam Heller, Zero Pain Now, it wasn't the course that got me better. Those are just tools. They're educational tools. Really, it comes down to what are you doing with the information. And all of the books lay it all out for you. They give you all the information you need. So, somebody else asked, how do we stop thinking physically even when I know I should be thinking psychologically? So to answer that question directly, awareness, right? How to stop it is to first become aware that you're doing it. I mean, if you're walking around all day thinking, oh, my knee or my shoulder or my back or my hip, you're thinking physically. So becoming aware of that is step number one. Step number two is once you notice that you're doing it, you got to shift to your emotions, which is thinking psychologically. What's going on in my world psychologically, emotionally? Okay, yeah, I'm stressed about this, that, or that. Yeah, I'm really pissed off at this thing that happened, right? And so how do you stop thinking physically is truly to become aware of it and make a decision. There's that word again, I say it a lot. Make a decision that when you notice it, you're not going to go down that rabbit hole and continue thinking physically. You're not going to research physical cures. You're not going to go to physical therapy. You're not going to go to the chiropractor. You're going to basically dig into the emotional stuff. So awareness and decision, and actually taking action by shifting your thoughts. So somebody else asked, how long does the process take? The answer is, it depends, right? It depends on the person. It depends on their ability to grasp these topics, to know everything they can about TMS. And that doesn't mean you got to read 16 books on it. It just means, have you read enough or watched enough videos on it to know what it means and what it's doing? Because once you get that knowledge, it's easy to figure out, does this apply to me? Go through some self-assessments. So how long does it take? Some people will journal for years and not get better. It's because they're missing the mindset component, which I teach all the time. I think that's the missing link, if you will, in why some people it takes longer than others. That is absolutely why it took me 13 years, is because I knew everything about TMS. I could practically quote the book. I believed with 100% certainty that I had TMS. I did all the emotional work I could, all day, every day. I journaled myself into a depression. I wrote about all the crap that was wrong with my life for so long. So I did those three components, but the fourth component is mindset, and I didn't have that right. I was too concerned with the pain. I was too freaked out by it. I was so focused on fixing it. It was like an obsession to fix the pain, to get rid of the pain, and that's all I thought about. And as you know, what we focus on most tends to grow and magnify and stays wired in our brains. So, how long does it take? I've seen people get better in days. I've seen people take years. It all depends on how quickly they can gain the knowledge, know that that's them, get to the emotional work and not resist that, know that you're safe with your emotions and in your body, and then get your mindset right. Do the work for 20, 30 minutes a day, and the rest of the day, forget about it. Like, it's not important. And when you forget about it, your brain learns to let go. So, another one, how to do things out of love, not fear. So that is something that Nicole Sachs always suggests, that we do things out of love, not fear. If we're doing something for somebody we know because we're fearful that they're going to not love us if we don't do it, that's not so cool. If you do it out of love, you're coming from a different place. And more importantly, don't do this TMS type of work because you're afraid of the symptoms, or because you're afraid they won't go away, or because you're afraid that you need to do them perfectly. Do this TMS emotional discovery and getting your mindset right out of love for yourself. And if you don't love yourself, you're probably going to want to make that a priority. Start looking for things that you're good at, reasons why you are enough. Look up Marissa Peer, P-E-E-R, on YouTube. And she does some great videos about knowing that you're enough. So, I'm going to keep rolling here. Just turn the page with one hand. Let's see. Sometimes it's hard to tell TMS pain from the real deal and when to visit the doctor. So I always say, rule out the life-threatening, right? Make sure you didn't have a heart attack or a stroke, or you don't have cancer or some infectious disease that absolutely those things require medical attention. Fractures, if you took a fall or were in a car accident, that requires medical attention. Most other things, it then becomes not a matter of ruling out the physical, because if you go to the doctor and say, hey doc, I need to rule out the physical, they're going to look at your MRI of your back and they might say, well, you got a bulging disc here, could be impinging on the nerve, so that's why you're hurting. And now you've just accidentally ruled in the physical, which in my impression doesn't necessarily prove that you've got a physical cause for your pain. All it is looking at an imaging study. So rule out the life-threatening. Afterwards, rule in TMS. What are the pain characteristics? What are your personality characteristics? when did the pain start? Were you under a lot of stress or emotional turmoil at the time, right? And there's self-assessments that you can get. Painforyou.com, download the one, ppdassociation.org/symptoms. There's 30 questions there. And then also yourpaintest.com. You can also take the pain test. Anything over 29 is generally TMS. So how to know whether or not to go to the doctor? What's your level of concern? If you had shoulder pain and it went from your right shoulder to your left, you've had your right shoulder checked and now it's in your left shoulder because your right one started feeling better, it's likely the symptom imperative. Keep doing the work. Look, if it becomes persistent or, more and more challenging or significant, then go to the doctor. Hey, doc, I want to make sure I'm not dying. It's a great way to open up the dialogue because he's going to go, no, you've got a shoulder that's just a little wacky. You don't have to explain and teach the doctor about TMS and get them to agree with you. Just simply say, hey, I got some shoulder pain or back pain. I just want to rule out anything serious or life-threatening. And they'll probably be able to do certain things with some basic imaging studies or blood tests. And after that, you rule in TMS. So hopefully that answered your question. So somebody else was asking, why is it the more I do, the worse the pain gets? So journaling, feeling emotions, dancing, yoga, walking for miles, affirmations, etc. And so sometimes we can try too hard to get rid of the pain. So let's take it one at a time. So if you're doing journaling and feeling emotions, why does the pain get worse? Because the brain is trying desperately to keep you distracted from what it believes are dangerous and scary emotions. If you still resist these emotions and think you're a bad person or you're mentally ill or you are just weak or broken by feeling emotions, your brain's going to resist. How does it do it? It increases the pain. Dancing, yoga, there might be fear in there. You might be afraid that I'm doing too much physically too soon, and therefore you're going to quote-unquote hurt your body. And that fear can absolutely cause the pain to rise. So sometimes we can try too hard. Sometimes the pain is so significant in our life, meaning it's the most important thing to get rid of the pain, that we work ourselves up into a little bit of a frenzy there. So, basically the pain getting worse is just the resistance to the work and the brain really trying to hold on to the need for the distraction. Here's another one. Is it normal for symptoms to get worse? And is it bad to feel anger towards the pain or sadness about the pain? So first of all, you're not in pain because you have the pain. Your pain or symptoms started for some other reasons prior to that. Now look, is it okay to acknowledge the fact that you're angry or sad due to the emotion or due to the symptoms? Absolutely. So is it normal for things to get worse? Yes. I just talked about it in the last question that symptoms can get worse. If you're spending all your time journaling and doing the emotional discovery about the symptoms themselves and the pain themselves, you're probably not going to make too much headway. I will ask you to challenge yourself and say, what else is going on? What else could be causing my pain? What other emotions am I trying to resist? So, look, you're already consciously aware that you're angry and sad about the pain or the symptoms. So you're probably not discovering anything new. Always ask what else and then keep going on the emotional work. Somebody asked about the extinction burst. So I did cover this in the symptom imperative video and then part 2 of that. So if you go to YouTube, use the magnifying glass on the Pain for You channel and search for symptom imperative or search for extinction. You should find that video where I discuss the extinction burst at length. Instead of covering it all here, I'm going to just keep going. So somebody else was asking for me to address the constant fear or preoccupation about the pain returning or never reaching 100% healed. So again, if you're feeling much better, celebrate, don't worry about it. you're on the right track, and just keep on doing what you got to. If you are so preoccupied, somebody else was asking about how they're just not they've got like 10% of the pain remaining and only when they lay down. Well, that's a conditioned response, and caring about that or worrying about that instead of being grateful that, hey, you're 90% better or mostly better, or the fear that it will return, that takes some time. Look, when the pain first goes away, we're all afraid that it will come back. I know I was, and oftentimes it was that fear that brought it back. So what I'm going to suggest is relax. You're fine, you're not broken. The fact that the pain went away in the first place is absolutely proof that you're good, you're okay, and just keep on doing what you were doing and disconnect from the outcome. Look, I know you want to be 100% healed, but the more you stress out about getting to that 100% when you're already, 50, 70, 90% better, the more likely it's not going to be, you're not going to get it. It's kind of like chasing a dog that got away that doesn't want to be caught. The harder you chase, the faster the dog runs. It's kind of like that when it comes to the symptoms. The harder you chase them and try to beat them, the faster they run away and stay out of reach. So just relax and not stress about the last 10, 20, 50%. You're doing great. Keep going and let it take however long it takes. Somebody else was asking how anger affects TMS symptoms. Well, depends on your belief about yourself if you get angry. So if you believe that makes you an out-of-control person, out of control, mentally ill, or just like your mother or father who was an angry person, then anger will absolutely fire up the symptoms. Why? Because the brain is trying to protect you from feeling broken, out of control, or just like your mother or father. So it's very common. Anger is one of the core emotions behind most of this stuff. And because we've been taught that anger is not allowed, it's not cool, then anger can absolutely cause the symptoms to spike. And if it does, that's proof that it's this mind-body process, this distraction pain. So worsening pain after exercise or pain moving around to different sides, look, it's all the same stuff. Go watch the symptom imperative video, part 1 and part 2. I get into that in depth. And that kind of covers the ones that I think I can tackle really quick. I do love you guys. I appreciate all your questions. Hopefully you found this helpful, and hopefully watching this was useful for you, because me covering a question that somebody else had may have kind of addressed a question that you've had but didn't really think to ask. So let me know what you think. Was this helpful? Do you like this type of Q&A type of session, or do you prefer when I just get on one topic and kind of roll on that for a while? So I appreciate you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your suggestions. If I didn't cover your question here, it's because it probably warrants a little bit deeper of a discussion, and I'll try to get to those in future videos. So thanks again, and we'll talk to you soon.